Starting, I guess we're into the semester, my fourth year here. So I've seen the place, even in my short time, transform from a college to a university. We built this building. We've had a lot of change in terms of programs, and so we're on the move, and it's a very exciting time to be here at Del Valle. I was, I guess my first year was, they had just had the first Precarious Alliance, so I've gotten to see two others, and this is my third, and it's always interesting to see who comes out and what kind of conversation we can get around some of these big issues. As you may know, one of our taglines is that we help students get the knowledge and experience to tackle the most important issues of our time. And all of our programs here try to push toward that. It matters. What we do matters. It's going to affect the future and all of that. So the Precarious Alliance is sort of our way of bringing together people in these small, intimate sessions and in larger forums to talk about some of those things. So I'm glad you guys are here. And here's you guys, except Amy back there. Thank you, Amy, for doing our recording. She's our administrative assistant for a couple of our graduate programs and our liberal arts department. So let me just read what this session is about, and then we have two presenters today. Nick from the Environmental Home Store is not here. He may show up. If he does, we'll put him in at the end. But, pardon me? Yes. Right. So let me just read what, hey, we're just getting started. Come on in. No problem. We're going to be talking about green businesses. So green businesses mean business, local businesses, and sustainability. And because I'm the Dean of Business and Humanities, I'm very interested in this topic because we do in our courses talk a lot about ethical issues related to business and related to protecting the environment. A little side conversation, we just started talking actually at a faculty meeting on Monday about an international concept called One Health. Has anybody heard of One Health? I think it started in Sweden. There's a model that we're looking at where One Health says, you know, if humans are healthy and people are healthy and the environment is healthy, then it all works together for the good. So we have, I'm going to shut this down because I think everybody's here who's coming. We have huge programs in animal science, as you know, and environmental science, and we talk a lot about sustainability. We send a lot of students to vet school and medical school. So we're starting to see, and I think One Health shows, we're starting to see the relationship among those three entities, the environment, people, and animals. And I think that could be a really good defining kind of icon for Delaware Valley University. So we're starting to see how all of our programs in one way or another have to do with sustainability, have to do with the health of people, animals, and the environment. And so so here's what this session was sort of set out to do. So let me just read it if you don't mind. It says, we've all seen those slick, calculated greenwashing claims and campaigns that corporations and businesses use to promote their goods and services as environmentally friendly. The green SUV, clean coal, a recyclable computer. Environmentally conscious consumers want to believe that their hard-earned green will not further endanger the environment. So what does a true environmental ethic look like? And when I read this, of course, you're all thinking the same thing I am. How timely is it that we're here talking about this when Volkswagen, the largest car maker in the world, has come out and said we cheated? And I have a 74 Beetle, and I know it was before anything was green. But, you know, and I don't mind still driving it. I'm still going to drive it proudly and all of that. But I know how people feel. I've heard a lot of people in the last couple of weeks feeling guilty about turning the car on and knowing that they're driving something that was touted as something it's not. So this is a very timely session, and I really thank all of you for being here. We have two men who are going to be talking about their businesses, and we'll keep it informal because we are small. So first, Randy Hefner from Aquascapes Unlimited is going to talk about what he does and his environmental ethic. And then I think because there are just two of us, instead of doing the presentations and ask, we'll go ahead when Randy's done, we'll just have a conversation. What questions do you have from him? What does his business, what kind of ideas kind of spark your interest? And then we'll move to Patrick. So Randy, tell us about Aquascapes.
Thanks, Jim. I Randy Hefner from Aquascapes, obviously, and I went to school here at Del Val back in the 70s, a little after that 74 Volkswagen.
Yeah.
I
That was the year I graduated from high school, so that's why the 74, there is 74 times. Three?
So yeah, it's a few decades since I've walked these classrooms, but we do actually stay pretty well involved in the college through several avenues. My business, I graduated in biology. Strangely enough, there was a lot of horticulture involved at Delaware Valley College at that time. It's called Delaware Valley College of Agricultural and Sciences. And I kind of like that name, you know? I mean, nothing wrong with the university, but that name, Agricultural and Sciences. I was from Lebanon, Pennsylvania, and which is, just a stone's throw or two, west. I like the fact that there was a train that went through the college. Gave me a cultural avenue of Philadelphia. I was from a very small town. Lebanon, Pennsylvania has more cows than people. So the train gave me a new avenue. I was like, wow, this is going to be a really neat college. So I got a lot of horticulture here, and was in biology and chemistry for a couple of years. My last real job was probably about 30 years ago. And I developed a company that worked in keeping fish healthy, keeping ponds healthy, maintaining wetlands. And that developed into a company that grows aquatic and wetland species for stormwater. Primarily grow plants. We grow them for contractors who install those plants in the stormwater facilities. They install them into public works facilities. They'll put them into Walnut Gardens and Missouri Botanical, a lot of different avenues for the marketing of the plants. But primarily they're workhorses of wetland species that are planted into the environment, and through their root structure and through their leaves and through their processes of growth, they actually clean up the water. They make for a better habitat. They provide seeds and wildlife benefits beyond imagine. So I'm really happy to have that opportunity, that well-rounded education that Del Val had given me, and with the pursuit in horticulture, which my grandmother knew that I would be a farmer someday, but I really never thought that would happen. But I was happy to be here and happy to be a part of Del Val and this conference. Anybody have any questions? I can.
Yeah, give us this is just a big thing in here. Give us a specific example of, an environment where you went in that was pretty not, dirty, horrible. A good example of something that you saw transform.
Yeah, there's a
I'm
lot
trying to
of.
imagine it.
Yeah, there's a lot of. I mean, a lot of it is just a simple, parking lot kind of things. But there's a lot of ponds. There's a lot of EPA sites that we've worked with. One was up in this is just south of Allentown, EPA Superfund site, and we turned that thing around. With the help of Jeff Keller, who's a landscape architect, whose company is called Habitat by Design. He's an ornithologist, and he worked in horticulture too. But what happened with that was a dump site that started back in the 60s, and of course there was a lot of nasty stuff in there, a lot of heavy metals in there. The EPA, as their Superfund sites, as funding allows, they can come in and do a restoration in that. It was on a particular piece of ground that had a clay base, which was actually good because the water didn't percolate through into the groundwater system. Of course, they didn't know that when they were dumping all that stuff there. But it was fairly easy to mitigate that, to cap that, remove whatever could be removed. There were still particular amounts of metals in the soils that couldn't be removed. And then that site was transformed through excavation and removal and converted into a habitat for wildlife. So that was pretty neat. But every day I have a side business that maintains and manages these ponds and stormwater systems. So, I mean, every day I see opportunity for involvement in sometimes it's just a bag of seeds. I mean, just a simple act of distribution at a certain amount of time and getting them out there that these seeds have a chance to take hold and be fruitful. So, I mean, every day I see opportunities that are out there. It doesn't necessarily have to be the big project. Del Val has a couple examples of our work. Del Val, a couple of the professors come up to our facility, which is in Pipersville, Pennsylvania, on an annual basis. We grow fish. We have an integrated system that grows fish and plants, and it's integrated aquaculture.
Did you help work on the hydroponics at all?
We worked in the stormwater systems here.
Okay.
We worked on the stormwater management. We've done some stuff on Lake Archer as far as studies go, and we've done the stormwater basins and the plantings. We've worked with Michael next door, who's giving a presentation now on a couple of classes. We did we supplied the plants and provided an opportunity for student interaction below Lake Archer in that natural lands that comes down through there. There's a wet area, lots of shade, and we 3 vernal pools that are in concession there. We've managed to breathe some life back into that and still accommodate all of the party requirements, which are, we don't want it too tall and weedy. But we do want wildlife habitat. But we don't like anything that's taller than, that we can see over. Of course, it gets with the geese like too. So yeah, I mean, a lot of little projects really add up, and that's what we see. So going to work every day is exciting for me. I love what I do, and I feel like I'm trying to be a good steward of the earth. And we have 6 people that working for me, some of them as long as 18 years. I think they've got a pretty good idea that they're being good stewards of the earth too. They wouldn't be there then.
The spring after the vernal ponds were created, I took my nephews on campus and we were playing around some of the buildings, and the number of frogs has just gone skyrocket. It's amazing how many frogs are back there. I think it was right at the time that they had, from tadpoles become able to hop, and they were coming out. It was sort of creepy, like a plague, but it wasn't that bad. But I thought to myself, where were these a year ago? Like, I couldn't imagine what had changed in just a year, that so many frogs would be behind there in that area. And then I realized it was the vernal pools. It was the vernal pools.
Yeah, you build it and they come. I mean,
It was
just as simple as that.
It was the spring after they were put in. It was so fast.
Well, there's no fish predation.
Yeah.
Herons, there's a lot of overhead cover in there, so it's not really like a herons like to eat, fish. They'll eat frogs, but they're not going to go out of their way in a little pool like that to eat frogs. And there's a lot of cover.
Yes.
So that cover allows all of those amphibians, that's what they need.
It's
I mean, I often go to a place and they'll say, we don't have any, what happened to the frogs? And stuff. Well, you guys are weed whacking.
Why would they
right
want to
up
live
the
here?
water line. Why would they live there?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's working.
This may be a naive question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do the plant materials that of various kinds are used, is that at all used in the remediation process when there has been, say, a Superfund site or something like that, or is it strictly after remediation to further enhance?
No, that's actually not a silly question at all. A very, very astute question. No, as a matter of fact, the plants that are chosen for those remediation sites are very specific with adaptive hydrology. Okay, you've got to have the right plant in the right place with the right amount of water. Certain plants will tend to take up a larger amount of heavy metals than others. So those plants are often chosen to extract it from the soil. Okay, so now you got a plant that's high in heavy metals.
I was just wondering about that.
Yeah, well, that's always, for a long, long time. I mean, I mean, some of the people from the 70s, right, might remember that the solution to pollution is dilution. So that distribution of those heavy metals into the plant tissues that are now above the ground. Now, you've got heavy metals into plants that are above the ground. Right. Those are, they're less available. Once the plant incorporates them into the plant material, they are less available than they would be in a ground system or in a potentially groundwater system for leachate. So, and they're certainly below any EPA standards. I mean, these places are being monitored very, very closely. Is there a chance that a rabbit or some other rodent could bioaccumulation? Yeah, there probably is. I mean, if that rodent focused on the highest portion of that and that's all that he ate, yeah, there has been. But that's been pretty much the way that most of these remediation projects have worked. And they're capped. They're not growing in, really high areas, so they are capped. But there is a little bit of leachate, there is a little bit of slide here and there, so the plants are there as a function, and those specific plants are specifically chosen, their species are chosen because of their ability to uptake and to survive in those kind of situations. We're doing the same thing with acid mine drainage in Schuylkill County. We've got a couple projects going on up there where, surprisingly, all of the powers that may be, you would think that they would know which plants do the best job in acid mine drainage to clean up leachate, right? I mean, they're spending millions of dollars on engineered structures in order to precipitate out irons and to reduce the amount of metals and to increase the pH as it comes out of us, but not so much focused on the plant aspect. I'm a plant guy, so I'm like, well, where's the plant aspect of this? I mean, this is this is the way nature works. I mean, you put some plants in, you build a habitat. It fixes a lot of problems. And they don't quite get that. So the last couple of years, we started working with at least Schuylkill County, and we've been pretty proactive with developing a list of plants for these acid mine drainage situations where they have spent millions of dollars on these structures, but yet don't have any way to clean up the final effluent before it goes back in the creek with plants, with roots, with tissue, and it's not rocket science. I mean, to me, it's
Plant science.
we just take up a package of plants. We have somebody up there who's monitoring the growth, who saves me a lot of time by taking pictures of the plants and pulling up the roots, and we can do evaluations just over the internet a lot of times. I go up there once a month and put a pair of boots on myself, and that's that. So yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, the specific plants for specific jobs, they're out there.
So there's a little town in our county, Roanoke, that has, and it always amazes me that they did this, but they have a system for water treatment. And they use a plant-based, kind of marsh kind of system. Do you know much about it?
No, I know it exists, but I can't speak to
Hope
it.
toured it. She said it's amazing. So is that something you see if maybe becoming?
We do that for mushroom farmers in Chester County. Yeah, they're the biggest issue with pollution of when we talk about pollution, nutrient pollution in an aquatic system. I mean, you get nitrates, and everybody's worried about nitrates. Nitrates are not a big issue when it comes to an aquatic system. They're bigger when it comes to people, not so much an aquatic system. Phosphates are the big one in an aquatic system. Phosphate is absolutely the limiting nutrient in an aquatic system. Everything drives on phosphate in an aquatic system. So if you have low phosphates, you have a pretty clean pond. You have high phosphates, you've got a lot of algae, you've got a lot of excessive weed growth, you've got blue-green algae, potentially toxic. So when you're talking about using plants as the final treatment process. It's called a tertiary treatment process. You know, primary is a settlization, you get the mucky stuff. Secondary, you're getting rid of the bacteria, you're getting there, but you still got high nutrient, you still got high nitrogen, you still got high phosphates. Plants are where you come in, and when the phosphates are really, really high, they're not allowed to let them back into natural waters. That's when the tertiary system comes in play, that's where your plants come in play, and that's where the plants coming in some of the mushrooms farmers, the way some of them are set up on, even Chester County kind of goes like this, you know, slopes and hills and valleys, and you have places where water accumulates outside of the places where they grow these mushrooms. So in order to clean that up, we've developed a list of plants that are doing pretty well with it. So yeah, lots of little things that you know make us feel good about going to work every day. And I know Delta has something to do with it.
That's exciting. Well, I asked about the hydroponics. We have a new hydroponics facility that's still being finished and is growing and developing. But early on this summer, they were kind of testing out one part of it. And they were growing this wonderful basil. I don't know if you took a tour of the greenhouse, but probably almost as big as this room, or half this room, was just basil. And it was all being grown hydroponically, and they had a couple of huge tanks with tilapia in there. And so evidently the tilapia, you know, the stuff that comes out of tilapia goes into the water and really made this basil.
We have a
really
similar system that we do trout in the winter. But we've done perch, we've done striper bass, largemouth bass, tilapia.
So my dean colleague Chris said, grab a basil plant and take a fish home for dinner. It's like, what a place to work. You can get, like the other day, we got a big crate of apples delivered to the building that were just picked down the street. It's a good place to work. So
Del Val graduates start the Doylestown Fresh?
Probably,
Yes.
They are,
Yes.
Lynn's our director of alumni relations.
Dennis Reiling was a
Right.
Del Val graduate and also for a while a teacher, and he started the Doylestown Fresh. He has since been lured away to Texas to work at a company that produces the lighting for hydroponics. The company's called Illuminatex, and his expertise, they're putting it to use there. And he and Tim Sulzer, who's a grad, and Mark McDevitt, 3 grads, were a package deal. They all 3 went down there to Texas.
Where?
I think it's near Austin. It's not Austin proper, but I think it's near Austin. For Illuminatex, which is evidently, this is sort of a side note, but evidently now that certain states have legal marijuana programs, a lot of hydroponic marijuana growth depends on these lighting systems. And so a lot of industries have sprung up to service a completely new industry, which is kind of interesting.
Are they using LEDs now?
They are. They are, and they're mostly pinkish, rose-colored, as opposed to the typical white or whitish blue that I was familiar with. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry to derail, but it is interesting.
I took a tour of Doylestown Tech, and they were experimenting at that time with the LEDs, different colors.
Other questions for Randy? Anything else you want to know about? I guess just thinking about, like, if I were talking to a group of students in business, you're a horticulture person. So how did you know how to start a business? What gave you those skills to know to take your passion and to make money from it?
I've been doing that since I've been like 8 years old. I think I started selling earthworms to my father's fisherman buddies. Cut them on. So it's always been. I've always been on a hustle somewhere. So I think starting a business was. Although I did take the course in how to start your own business. After I started a business, and then I quit.
Well, that's not. I think it's better now. It's called small business management.
Well, it was at Bucks County Community College.
It wasn't.
And no, it wasn't here. But it was, I had already started my own business. I was already into it like 6 months. And I thought, I really should get some more information on how to start my own business, because I registered my fictitious name as a biologist, fictitious name registration, well, that to me meant there's more people in my pocket now. All of a sudden I'm getting tax bills and, EIN numbers and wow, that was a surprise. So yeah, in Bucks County, they were telling Bucks County Community College, told me this is what you need to do. I'm like, why we did that? This is
Well, we have now, in our business
I wish I would have had
department,
more.
we have actually 5 different minors that are customized for people in other departments. So the biology person comes over and says, here's what I want to do. I want to start my own business. We have a minor just customized for starting your own business. I want to go work for corporate America. We have a minor for that. So I think now we're a lot more interdisciplinary and work across the campus, the business department, to help passionate folks in other areas start businesses or grow businesses, because we do have some that have been, working in their parents' business, but you're going to take it over, how do you make it better, how do you expand? So anyway.
Yeah, I've been winging it. I hire people that know how to do
There you go.
that.
There you go.
That-
Good for you, thank you.
Great, thank you, Randy. So, yeah. And then we have Patrick Kennedy, Patrick M. Kennedy, not to be confused with the other one. Vice President of Superior Woodcraft. So we're going to switch gears here a little bit about an aqueous world to wood. So tell us what you do and give us your story.
Thanks, Kim. If anybody has any questions as I'm talking, feel free to interrupt. I like to have a conversation with people. Superior Woodcraft. We are a local company. We design and manufacture custom cabinetry for the home. So we use wood as a natural resource. We've been doing that for 48 years. Come on in. So we've been doing that for 48 years, and it's a family-owned and operated company. When we talk about sustainability, it's hard for me to separate that from anything else. To me, it's all interrelated. I think that focus comes from being a family-owned company. We don't have the pressures of quarterly earnings to meet and analyst calls and things like that, so we can take a longer-term approach to things. And what I found working the last several years is it's actually becoming easier and easier to become more sustainable, more products are available to you. And pretty much everything that we have done to improve in that area, to me, is just a natural course that we've taken of things that we might have liked to have done before, but it really wasn't available to do. And at the same time, all the work that we have done has been revenue neutral or increasing profits. So to us, an excuse of like, well, I can't be green because it costs too much. When our clients come in, I always ask them if they're interested in sustainability or green products. It's very interesting. I have maybe 10% that are very avid in that area and they want to know everything. I have 10% that have a very negative reaction. And I'll just kind of stay away from that. Then I have everybody else called the 80%. It says, like, yes, we'd love to, but we have a budget too. And then I tell them, well, you'd be happy to know that you can get that product here. Everything that we do, our entire facility has been rated being sustainable by the KCMA, the Kitchen Cabinet Manufacturing Association. And that's different than a lot of companies. Some of the larger companies in particular might have a product line that they consider to be green. It might account for 1% of their sales. And the rest of what they're doing really isn't. And so when I look at sustainability, I look at it from the very start to the very end. We're using a natural resource, trees. About 93–94% of our trees come from within 250 miles. Forestry is very important in the state of Pennsylvania. The last time I looked, it was the 4th largest component of the state's economy. And then if you look at it a little bit further, we go out 500 miles, about 97% of the wood that we purchase comes from within 500 miles. Most of our vendors are within an hour and a half of our facility here in Doylestown. So I look at that aspect. We look at how the trees are being grown. Some people talk about other products like bamboo and things like that. And I get a little skeptical over a product like bamboo. for us here in Doylestown as being a sustainable product. It's rapidly renewable, which is great, but it's being shipped from a far distance. Lots of embedded energy in getting that bamboo to us. I don't know their practices there as far as how they treat the land and the plantations where they're growing. It's very monoculture. The resins and how they're producing that, we don't know how they are created and what's all in those products. So I always look at it is look to your local area first for your resources. And then if you have to, start to expand from there. Like I said, our facility has been rated as being sustainable. That they look at everything from the lighting that we're using to our building in general. It's a renovated textile mill that was built 100+ years ago that we renovated. Our waste, about 96% of our waste is all repurposed. So a very small percentage of it goes into a landfill. Spent finishing material that's utilized for fuel, for cement plants, and everything else is segregated out to highest use. All the way down to our sawdust, which one of the former students at Del Valle was using our sawdust for a while for his dairy operations in Big Bucks County. So we kind of look at it and look at from the very beginning of the process of where the forest is coming from the trees and all the way through the entire chain. And we've been involved in projects such as beta testing electron beam technology to eradicate the VOCs and other harm and HAPs that are coming out of your effluent from your finishing operations. The idea is basically the electron beams bombard those called chemicals and turn it into CO2 and water vapor. We've been involved in beta testing soy-based products, soy-based stains. And one of the interesting things we discovered with the soy-based stains is some of the components from the plant material actually survived in the stain making process. And when you applied it to fence posts or things like that, and it was outside, those fence posts, they didn't have fungus or algae or any growth on that because of the components that came through the soy plant. They were fighting all those things off. So that's kind of unexpected benefit that we found with that stain. Other things that we do, we don't really market. We don't really advertise. Everything that we do as far as that aspect is investing into the community. We support many of the various institutions throughout the county, throughout the Philadelphia area. One of the big events that we do that's a lot of fun, that's one of my favorite, is that we call it Local for Buy Local. And we hold that every February at our facility. And it's to promote local businesses and raise consumer awareness of local products. What we do is we have local food and beverage producers come to our facility, and it's a big party. Guests come and they sample all the products from our local food and beverage producers. And other local companies come as well, and network. And we have about 1,000 people that come out for a 3-hour period every year.
Over 21 beverages?
Over 21 beverages. It was kind of exciting this year. We had moonshine, rye whiskey, beer, wine.
And I missed it.
And you missed it.
Like in February.
What kind of wine?
What kind of wine? All various types, all from local vineyards here.
Like New Hope Winery, maybe?
Wycombe,
Cardinal Hollow.
Wycombe's there. I'm drawing a blank now. I'm still thinking about the whiskey. So the Doylestown Fresh, they came to one year, and that's a really fun event for me to see, because I've seen companies that have come in and they are just starting, and in 2 or 3 years they can't participate any longer because their businesses have grown so much that they can't handle the capacity, and they have other things that they're now concerned about. A number of companies from the Del Valle Farmers Market, they all come up and participate, as well. Other aspects of the company, I think one of our biggest focuses being a family-owned company. I'm thinking about the next 50 years, not the next quarter. And one of the things that's exciting as well is I look at having a good product to use, good materials to use in the next 50 years. Meaning we need good quality trees. And that has kind of been a challenge over the last several years because of the forestry practices that were in place 100+ years ago. That has changed, and I'm excited to see the products, the trees that are going to be available, in the next 50 to 75 years. And part of what we're doing there is we do reforestation, lands that have
That
had
was gonna be my
fires.
question, so there you go.
Yep. Lands that have been impacted by fire, replanting those. Some of the projects don't really involve any plantings at all, but putting fences up to keep the deer population out. So
Let them grow their own.
right, so that area has a chance to grow. One of the areas that we did that was really interesting, kind of talking what Brandon was talking about, is using vegetation to improve the landscape, was a project out in Reading, Pennsylvania, area on the side of the mountain that was scarred years and years ago. And it just wasn't regenerating on its own. And that land was owned by the Reading Water Authority, who has a reservoir at the base. So about 3-4 years ago, we, working with the Hardwood Forestry Fund, we had that area planted with trees. And what was really interesting about that is not only is it going to look nicer, but the water authority was able to determine, with planting the trees there, how much cleaner the water was going to be. So how many fewer chemicals they were going to need to use in the future, less electricity for the processing, the whole aspect. And they put a number on it, but putting those, yes.
What trees did you plant, what species?
It's all various. Kind of look at that area. So you're talking, whatever we do, planting to the Hardwood Forestry Fund, we're looking for high economic value trees as well. And they're always mixed. It's never a monoculture.
Okay.
So you're talking maples, cherries, oaks, so things that are great for, habitat for there as well. So a mix of things like that. And all the plantings that are done are slated to be harvested in the future, and then regenerated again. So it's kind of working and improving the land that's there. Over the next 50 to 100 years, get the benefit of that, and then those trees will be harvested and start the process over again.
What kind of water you use?
What type of,
Water you utilize when you make alcoholic beverage?
oh, I don't make any alcoholic beverages. No.
Just
Like-
purified,
Only
filtered.
pure
Yeah.
filter.
Right.
You mentioned, if I heard you correctly, that among your customers, 10% are not interested in the fact that you're a sustainable company or anything of that nature. I guess it's a two-part question. Number one, are you able to educate them in some fashion? And number two, after that education process, do they become more amenable to the idea of sustainability?
That 10%, I'll say no.
Okay.
It's kind of a very interesting reaction. The 80%, yes. The 80% has an interest and they care, but they think that they're going to have to pay more money to get a green product and things like that. But that 10%, it's kind of very interesting. It's a very negative reaction, and it's such a, you just want to change the subject pretty quickly. I think they equate that to politics. And so, that's kind of, to me, is a misnomer. But that's, I think, in their eyes, what they're equating it to.
Tree hugger.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting. It's like, well, we use trees. That's a natural resource. And so be like, oh, that's terrible. It's like, oh, no, it's really not. Because I'm interested in trees for the next 100 years. Like I said, having a great product means that we need to do things properly now to ensure that our family company will be able to make the product in the next 50 years. So, a lot of our type of companies are kind of the best stewards that are out there, and kind of learning from mistakes that were made in the past, and have a lot more education and understanding now. Yes.
What's your biggest customer base? Just individuals coming in, or you selling to developers that are putting in houses or something? Or do you have a big customer base that
Yeah,
one type?
I'm glad you actually asked that question, because that reminded me of something I forgot about. Our customer base is basically direct homeowner driven. Our product is not the cheapest product that's out there. Builders that are putting up large tract homes, they have no interest in our product whatsoever. So our main customer base is from Cape Cod to Washington DC. We have projects from Maine to Florida, Idaho. So it's a wide range. Most of our customers, we're getting into the second generation of customers. Most of our customers, once we work with them, they become a customer for life. They move, they change homes as their family's needs change. They move to Florida. We go with them and do the work there, or we do the work here with ship it there. Same thing with some of those further reaches. One of the big things that we look at is sustainability. It just kind of incorporates everything that we do. Is our products last a very long time. There's a lot of embedded energy in remodeling. So we have projects that we did 40, 45 years ago. We're going back and retrofitting, say it's a kitchen. They're on the third generation of appliances in 40 years. The sizes and shapes have changed. And maybe products that didn't exist then exist now. So we're going back and retrofitting that kitchen to accept the new appliances now, the cabinetry staying. And that's kind of one of our big goals, is to make a very durable, lasting product, so you don't need to remodel your home in the future. Like I said, if you think about it, the amount of energy it takes to harvest that tree, get it to processing plants, process it, get it to our facility, for us to work with it, and then get it out to the homeowner. If we can, eliminate that, not have it happen as often. Some of the homes that you talked about, it's sad. We have clients coming in that their home is 3 years old, 5 years old, and they have to replace everything. Yes, it's cheaper to start, but not cheaper in the long run.
If you step back and look at the big picture, I'm just interested in your assessment. Do you agree that businesses like yours are a minority? That most companies in industrial capitalist society are not sustainable now? And if so, do you think that we're going to trend that way? And if so, what's going to drive us that way? Is it going to be market forces, people just demanding it more?
I think we're going to trend that way. I think there's a couple things: people demanding it more, and people discovering that you can be more sustainable and sustain profits at the same time. To me, they kind of have to go hand in hand. So, like I said before, everything that we have done has been cost neutral or has actually increased profits. And it's getting easier. There are things like we use a variable speed compressor. I'm looking at putting in a variable speed dust collector. So instead of those things running at a constant rate, it fluctuates with the demand. And looking at the variable speed dust collector, that will potentially cut the energy usage in half for each year. So that is, like, to me, oh wow, it costs more for the initial outset, but the payback period is pretty quick. I find some of the programs that Pico has, Smart Ideas they call it, some of those are helpful to help get things kick-started. Some of the research that I was talking about we're doing with Northampton Community College, department they have up there called ETAC, and their approach is the same. A lot of the funding came from the DEP, and they specialize in finishes and ink products and printing and things like that. and everything that they do has to benefit the environment and has to produce savings or profit for a company too. So I think it's just changing the mindset of how we're thinking about things and working, and also taking a longer term approach. I'll give you a little bit of my background because it'll make a little bit more sense. I grew up in rural Berks County. At that time, there was a lot of small family farms and a lot of forest land. So I grew up running around the woods there. Most of the families were involved in farming to some degree. So kind of being involved in the environment, just kind of lived in it. My family had investment real estate. So I grew up with a paintbrush in my hand and learning construction. That was kind of my first education, first job. Went to Susquehanna University, and from there I spent a number of years in the financial markets, institutional finance, and managing money for high net worth families. So part of like when I'm looking at sustainability and talking about a longer term view, one of the things that's interesting is companies that are publicly held but family controlled or controlled by a few entities, they tend to outperform the rest of the stock market on the longer term. And they have a more controlling interest, so they might be able to take a longer term view. So I think it's really changing that mindset of let's stop worrying about the quarter of the next 6 months, let's worry about decades down the road. Like when I'm working my business, I'm thinking about the future of my family business, what is it going to look like, and what do we need to do to make that sustainable into the future. And some of the things that, like I said, the local board event, we look at that, if we want to have a successful business, it's great to be in a successful community. The more successful the community is, the more successful it will be. So what can we do to help the community, be more successful and help educate the people of the importance of, buying locally, look to resource things locally first. And that's really been helpful in catching on. So I think it's a evolution. It's going to take a while to get there, I think. But I see more and more of that every day. We have had clients come to us with a budget, and we might not be able to meet their budget, but they talked about buying local, and they come back, and that was important to them. And sourcing things locally was important to them. Now, all of a sudden, that budget disappeared. And that's no longer a constraint. And we have seen people not only go up higher than what they originally budgeted, but then even go up further beyond that. So, I think it's, people understanding those things. Like in Doylestown, the Doylestown Business Community Alliance, we've worked with them, and people don't really understand what they do, and there's a lot of local businesses that are funding that and making things nicer inside the borough. I heard clients, not clients, just people in town commenting a number of years ago when they put the LED Christmas lights up. And people were upset about that because that was during the recession. Like, there's our tax money going to waste putting these new LED lights up. And it's like the borough, the government had nothing to do with this. This is all the community alliance did that. So educating people that about those things like baskets and all the fun runs and things like that I have are really driven by groups like that. Who are being funded by the local community. So when you go and you shop at local businesses, you're really reinvesting into your local community. So, sorry for that long-winded answer.
Questions for Patrick?
Are you first generation in this business? Did you start the business?
No. Actually, my father-in-law started the business.
Okay.
So it started in 1967. He immigrated from Europe, and he was trained as a cabinet maker in Europe. And he passed away in 1989. And then my wife and I became involved in the company in 1995, kind of transitioning what's going to happen to it,
Yeah.
and where it's going to go. So then we decided to purchase it from for our family and from the trust at that time. So, pretty much since like 1995, we've been.
20 years.
Yeah, so, yeah, it's a lot of fun, and you can see a lot of opportunities. I think getting to your answer too, is a lot of these opportunities aren't right in front of you. They're not the easy answers. You have to dig a little bit, but then when you do, it's amazing what you find. And just when you think you've done everything you can do, something else comes up, and that's available for you to take advantage of.
Would you share your experience last 3 decades of your business? What is the secret of successful business about your family?
Wow. The last 3 decades are really, really interesting. Probably the worst period was 2007 to 2012. Our industry went through a depression. 70%.
You weren't alone.
Well,
Yes.
yeah. I mean, 70% of the cabinet makers across the country lost their jobs. I saw companies that employed 2,600 employees down to 400 people. And that was pretty common. And I really, really felt bad for a lot of those people and companies because they're a little bit different than us. A lot of times they're located in more rural towns where that is the business in that town. And those people lost their jobs. They couldn't sell their houses. It was really, really tough. Kind of what got us through that period, it's kind of the nature of our company too. We build a custom product. So we weren't building a product that you had to sell for X amount of money. So we could adapt to people's budgets. And building a custom product, we're just very flexible as a company. And some of the things that I started doing then is in regards to sustainability as well. I could not have our vendors increasing prices on us. One of the things that we're still dealing with right now, we have not been able to increase our prices. Hopefully this year we will be able to do so since 2006. So I could not absorb higher prices. So I started seeing our vendors' trucks come in, barely any material on there. And I called up all our vendors and said, look, don't come to me 3 times a week. I don't want to see a truck that's 10% filled. I want to see a full truck. So pretty much every one of them went back and revamped all their trucking schedules, reduced the number of trucks on the road, and made sure that they were full when they were coming in. So from that sustainability aspect, that was great. And a lot of them have gone and improved their logistics in that area now because of that. So that was definitely the toughest. Customer focus, I think, is probably the #1 thing. Really listening to our clients on what they want, what they need, and creating a product for them. And again, I think it's more of taking the long-term approach of, and I see that all the time in companies dealing with clients. They're missing the forest from the trees, no pun intended. They're looking at this project and not down the road. And like I said, once we work with the family, once we work with the client, they tend to be our client for life. And now we're starting to do work for their children. I don't think we're in 3rd generation yet, not that I'm aware of. So I would say that's probably the real focus there is, and working with our employees. We consider we have 36 employees. A number of people have been with us for 20 to 30 years. A whole bunch of people have been with us for 15 years. We consider them family as well. When we went through the economic crisis, it's like we're all in it together. And kind of what are we going to do as a team to be able to get through this? So, getting their buy-in, working with our vendors. We don't look at it as we're a customer of our vendors, we're business partners. So I actually help consult some of our vendors in giving them information that helps them service their other clients better and helps provide us with good service as well. So I think that's part of it, is looking at it. Not, I think a lot of times in business, people look at it as adversarial relationships. Like, how much can I beat my vendor up to get the lowest price? And my vendor needs to make money. I want them to make money. But at the same time, I need to get fair prices and good service too. So the more that we can work together to benefit each other, the better off we'll be.
Well, we have 10 minutes left still for questions or just conversation about this topic in general. But we really appreciate hearing about your business. And I just want to remodel. I'm sure you can remodel. You know, I made the joke at the beginning about it's very timely with Volkswagen, but just any experience in your own lives about products that sort of touted being green when they weren't, or you're worried about buying something and wondering if you're really doing the right thing. I just got a sort of new old car. It's 2 years old. I have the Volkswagen Beetle just for fun. I can't drive all the time. And I was really happy about buying this car. It's a hybrid. And a friend said, well, you know, that's really not good because the battery and this and that. And I was like, oh, man, you can't win for losing.
Don't worry about it.
So I have a Prius. I'm excited. I love driving it. But so, did I do the right thing?
We did. I bought a 2004 Prius.
Okay.
I put 130,000 miles on it. Gave it to my daughter. It's got 200,000 miles on it now. It's still running on the same battery.
All right. Well, I've driven a Toyota since 1976, and I don't plan to switch anytime soon.
Professor,
Yes.
I need your wisdom.
A lot of pressure here, but go ahead.
Everything's fine. Oh, everybody happy. Okay, pretty good. Up and up and up. But the time has come when it drop down. When the time has come, we have so much of agonies and all the toils and oh my gosh, what shall I do? We don't find out any exit. And that time, what is your precious lesson for the student?
For the students, when
What is your just one single words for the student? You can cheer up or you can keep going, not that kind of things. What is the real the lessons for the kids, including all
I think these two gentlemen said it. In both of their businesses, they followed their core passion and their core beliefs. And there were times when you weren't making money, but you didn't fire half your employee. You followed your passion, you followed what you loved, you grew up in trees, you loved plants and water, and your business grew out of that naturally. I always tell students who visit the campus, and it worked for me, follow your passion, do what you love doing, going to work every day, loving it. And this isn't magic, but if you're working as hard as you are, loving what you do, the money will sort of come, the opportunities will come. And they won't all, we might not be in the 2%, but we'll enjoy our work, we'll love our work, we feel like what we do is worth it. I started as an English teacher because I had a passion for reading and for helping people communicate better, and never at 18 did I think I would be a dean of a school and an academic leader. But one thing leads to another, and just working with people, helping them achieve their own dreams is why I'm here. So I love it when a student comes in my office and has that barrier in front of them, and I help them figure out a way to go over it, around it, through it, but working with young people to help them realize that it's not going to be easy every day. Anything worth it's going to be hard work, but follow your passion. And parents, I love you all, parents, when I'm talking to parents. Go into business because you can get a job there. No, he went into plants and he's doing well. And he, I don't know if you went into financial services, but you ended up doing something that's different from managing wealth. That always bothers me, managing wealth. what if I'm poor, managing my poor and
Manage poor-
Anyway, so I think it has to do with follow what you love, do what you love, stay true to those core principles that you have, and opportunity will be there. And that's not, I don't mean that to sound flip or easy, but it's worked for me.
I have to tell a story.
All right, good. You got 4 minutes. That's great.
I graduated with a degree in forestry,
Oh,
and when I got out, I was promptly unemployed. And my father says, now you want to go back and get a real degree?
well, I'll tell you another quick story. My son just moved to Salt Lake City, my oldest son. He is a physician recruiter, a headhunter for doctors. I turned 60 next week, so I'll just throw that out there. So I've had a career that I've worked really hard since I was 22. And he's going to make as much money as I do in this career recruiting doctors. He was an art major. It doesn't matter what his degree was in. He followed his passion. He still does art on the side. But in learning art, he learned to communicate. He learned to see things from different perspectives. He was a critical thinker, a creative thinker, and that helped him get this job he's in now. So follow your passion, follow forestry, whatever it is. Opportunities will follow from that. But don't go into a major, you're not going back to school, but don't go into a job or don't go into a career that you think, well, that'll just help me make some money. You're liable to be really unhappy with that. You're just putting...
No, I'm just
okay.
thinking about it.
Okay.
It's very easy to spot somebody who loves what he or she is doing for a
Right.
living. I mean,
Right.
it's so easy to spot the opposite.
Right.
It's like somebody who's just miserable to go to work every day.
Yeah.
And you know what?
I used to say life's too short for that, but a friend the other day said, no, it's the other way. Life's too long for that.
Yeah,
You've
yeah.
got too much
Yeah.
life to live to be miserable and to
Absolutely.
hate what you do. So, thank you all very much for coming
Thank you.
this afternoon. And thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your businesses. And
Wise professor.
thank you.
That's why you're a dean of
Well,